that 1800 call too. It was like everyone, all the perma bills were going bearish, bearish, bearish. It was a funny thing, because this thing was going sideways downish for 2 months, and structurally, if you look at the fundamentals on chain, it was really a long-running accumulation bottom. Yet sometimes, it doesn't happen very often, but sometimes price doesn't reflect what's fundamentally happening. So like it just went grinding down, so everyone was fooled by price action. I remember Peter Brand he was quite bearish too, and he mastered technical trader for decades, and he said in one tweet, this is going to be a real test between on-chain, which is kind of new, and technical analysis, because all the technicals were horrible. I looked at the technicals and they looked, just from the price action, it was like scary. But yeah, it was very much an accumulation. We've had 2 months of flows moving, not only off the exchange, you could see it, but not as strong, more that the coins were moving to long-term investors and they were mopping it up. And we had just, mega amounts of little guys by the gazillions, a very unprecedented number of small people stacking, and I think they were the ones that were registering as long-term holders, because when people come in and buy and they don't register a sell or coins leaving their wallet, they're immediately considered what Glassnode called illiquid, essentially a buyer, and the history is just of buying. So we saw a lot of the stacking. And I've got some new charts actually that I'll probably publish a little bit later, showing just these little guys stacking, and they really tell a story of the bull market. So yeah, structurally we've been in a bull market all along, even though price has been so far down. And I was like, this is one of the few circumstances where the market is not only wrong, but ridiculously wrong. Like the price really, the fundamentals right now are no different from when we were in 50, 60,000. So the price has been, I think, just artificially forced down by bearish traders. And like when we had that massive plummet on the Elon Musk and the China FUD, a lot of coins that were being sold off by whales ended up on exchanges. So I read that as the speculation kind of players, the speculative coins, went up. So traders had a lot of ammo. They had a lot of those coins. They immediately absorbed it because they ended up on exchanges. And it's been 2 months of them selling down and those coins being mopped up. And last week saw the end of that. So no more coins. Well, the supply is running short on the exchanges, so price squeezed. And interestingly, it climbed to something like the mid-30s. It climbed about $5,000 before we actually got the squeeze. It looked like a squeeze, but it wasn't till I can't remember the exact. I don't have the number right in front of me, but it rocketed. I mean, it just
26th.
Yeah,
26th of July, Sunday 26th is when it happened.
I mean, it was morning for me, and I was like, I just got up, and I was like, oh my god, this is crazy. And I was like, I slept on a few orders right there in real time while it was running up, and this thing just kept running up thousands. I'd never done a trade where I opened and closed it in like 180 seconds and seen the gain at that kind of rate before. It was kind of crazy.
Bitcoin's at a 20% discount. Now, like, how do you calculate this? Because people will read that and go, yeah, but how do you come up with that price?
Well, this one currently, if I have to look at the level of supply shock that we've got in the system, supply shock is just this word, but you can measure that quantitatively. So, you look across blockchain, grab all the cluster all the wallets and then determine all the individuals by forensically analyzing them, and then you go, okay, who are the guys that hodl? Who are the guys that are traders and speculative? And then you run a ratio of how many coins. Supply shock is essentially the amount of supply of Bitcoin that you can get versus the supply that you can't get. And so one view of supply shock is how many coins do the speculators have, because you probably can get the coins off the speculators because they buy and sell, but you won't be able to get the coins off the hodlers, the Michael Saylors of this world. He ain't selling, right? So it's simply a ratio of those coins you can't get to the coins you can get. I flipped it so that visually it tracks price. Actually, it tracks price very, very closely, except this last 2 months where supply shock's been ramping up and price is going down, which we call that, classic divergence. And it's very, very seldom you see this at that. Well, I've never seen one at that scale before in the 12-year on-chain history of Bitcoin. We had one October last year, and that resolved in a squeeze, right? It squeezed from 10,000 to 60. And so the supply shock now is at the same level as where we were when we were range bound in the 50, 60,000. So all we need is really the sentiment of traders who really determine the short-term pricing of Bitcoin to switch bullish to the same level of bullish FOMO that you saw, pre-May, April, first quarter type zone, where they started to price a premium into Bitcoin above, the fundamentals. Normally you see the price above the fundamentals, in a bull market, and then it gets even more, frothy towards the end is when it just gets out of hand and it's way above what, the long-term guys are supporting the price at. So once that flips, the price, the current supply shock, we deserve to be in the 50, 60,000 range. Once we break 42, that's the long-term sort of line in the sand of the channel we've been playing at. And it's just really just a big gap from there to 50. 42 to 50 is just a gap. So if we break 42, it's not going to be much time to get to 50. So, yeah.
What you think we'll consolidate again around 50, 60 for a while?
Yeah, I think we'll take a little bit more time to slice through. Like, I wouldn't expect us to slice right through, but anything can happen. I kind of expect that we'd just retest some of that zone in there because we spent so long playing around in there.